Thank you for viewing our Pro Supply Center Pro Advanced Waterproofing Shower System installation video for tile. We will show you how to easily install one of the highest performance and most cost-effective waterproofing kits available. Before installation, ensure that your walls are installed and ready for waterproofing. In this video, we are installing a Pro Advanced 32x60 kit with an offset drain. Test fit your pan pieces to your specific space. You may trim the foam pieces as necessary to accommodate variances in your particular floor area. Mark a circle on the subfloor using the drain flange opening in the pan as a guide. Then remove your dry-fitted pan pieces and set them safely aside. Drill a pilot hole to allow cutout access for your jigsaw. Cut a circle out that is 1/2 to 3/4 inch smaller than the drawn circle. Feel free to draw this smaller inner circle as a guide before cutting. You simply need a hole just large enough for the drain flange adapter to drop down below the subfloor. Please ensure the hole you cut is smaller than the circumference of the base of the drain flange. Dry fit your flange adapter to the bottom of the drain flange and test fit to the short 2-inch pipe that's attached to your P-trap below the subfloor. The optimal fit for the flange is for it to sit squarely on the bare subfloor. Adjust your pipe below the subfloor as necessary to allow for the flange to seat properly. Notice the side view that shows the flange seated down to the subfloor. These pans are designed for more than one type of drain flange. Your pan has most likely been trimmed before leaving the shipping warehouse. If not, trim the pan so that the test fit of the drain flange allows the base of the flange to come all the way through and the top of the flange to seat all the way down into the cavity. Dry fit one section of your pan and mark lines that will designate how far to spread high-quality thinset mortar. Please use the highest quality modified or fortified thinset mortar available to you. Higher quality thinset will provide for easier installation and provide the highest possible performance for the kit installation. Trowel the thinset within the walls and drawn guides of the subfloor using a 1/4 by 3/8 up to a 3/8 by 3/8 square notch trowel. Fit the correct pan piece into place and press down into the thinset with a fair amount of force. Peel the pan piece back up to survey how much thinset coverage you have achieved. Back buttering additional thinset to the backside of the pan may be necessary to achieve 100% coverage. Fit the pan again into place and check one more time. Continue this process until you have achieved 100% thinset coverage on the underside of the pan. Press the pan section into place one final time. Repeat the process for the remaining section. Please note that different kits will include different numbers of pan sections. Basic smaller size kits will only include interlocking sections, while larger kits will include extension pieces that do not interlock, but instead just butt up against central pan sections. However, the procedure for laying each section is identical. Now is a good time to ensure that the drain flange properly dry fits into your pan. If you will be using the preformed foam curb sections, take appropriate measurements, then use an ABS pipe cutting saw or similar cutting tool to make your cut. Test fit the foam pieces and be sure to leave extra space for thinset between each curb piece and where each contacts the wall. Mark an outline of the curb area. Apply your high quality modified thinset to the outline curb area using the previously used notched trowel. The bottom side of your curbs feature a couple of notch grooves for additional bonding strength. Fill these grooves with thinset before applying the notch of your trowel. In addition to applying and notching thinset to the edge of the curb that will contact the wall, apply a notch thinset to the edge of the curb that will contact the edge of the shower pan. Fit the curb section into its correct position and press into place. If your installation requires a second curb piece, prepare it in the same manner as the first, but be sure to apply a notch thinset onto both ends of the curb so that the thinset will contact the wall and the previously installed curb section. Fit the curb section into position and press into place. After completing installation of any component that requires the use of thinset, be sure to scrape flat any excess thinset that may squeeze out of the joint or contact areas. Glue the drain flange adapter to the bottom of your drain flange. Then apply glue to the end of the adapter and glue onto your 2-inch drain pipe situated below the subfloor. Be sure the flange seats all the way down. Now it's time to install the inside corners. Start by test fitting the corner, then trowel and notch thinset into the corner region. Your notch size can range from 1/8 by 1/8 inch up to 3/16 by 3/16 inch in various square U, V notch configurations. push the corner into place and press into the thinset using the flat edge of your trowel. As shown in this video, it may be helpful to use a margin trowel for this purpose. Ensure that you achieve 100% coverage on the membrane and that excess thinset is pressed out. Repeat this process for all of the other 3 inside corners. Now measure and cut a piece of band between 2 of your corner pieces. Scissors or a razor can be used for this purpose. Fold the band piece lengthwise, forming a temporary crease to aid in the installation. Test fit your band piece, then trowel and notch thinset between and onto each inside corner. Press band piece into place and use flat edge of the trowel to force 100% coverage of thinset and push out any excess from edges. Occasionally peel back membrane to ensure 100% coverage of thinset and add additional thinset as required to accomplish this. Repeat this process in the remaining 3 spaces between the inside corners. Be sure to clean up excess thinset after all band pieces have been installed. Repeat this process for vertical pieces as well. Wrap the roll of large membrane and begin measuring and cutting pieces for the floor and wall. It is a good idea to cut your floor piece or pieces first and set them aside since they are more important than membrane high up the wall. In this installation, we will start with the large back wall piece. You will want to start from the lower pan area and work your way up. Dry test fit the piece and mark its position so that you know how high to spread the thinset. Apply a notch thinset into the area to be covered by your membrane section. Press the membrane into position using your hands to press and smooth and work out any air bubbles. Begin from the middle and work your way out. Then follow the same procedure using the flat side of your trowel, working from the middle outward toward each edge. Force excess thinset out of each edge with your trowel. Ensure that you achieve 100% thinset coverage between the wall and the membrane. The membrane is somewhat opaque to assist you with this determination. If you are not sure, lift a section of the membrane to check for 100% coverage. Your finished first section will look something like this. After the first membrane section has been installed, begin troweling and notching thinset onto the next section up. Include thinset coverage on the overlap area printed on the membrane. If you happen to be overlapping a piece without this guide, be sure to overlap the membrane sections by at least 2 inches. Press in your next section of membrane, ensuring that you're overlapping the lower piece by at least 2 inches, or use the printed guides. Install this section exactly like you did the first. As with previous steps, be sure to scrape flat any excess thinset that's been pushed out. In this installation, we will measure, cut, and install a third piece up to the ceiling. If you're going to do this, please ensure you have adequate amounts of WP membrane. If you are using the standard roll that came with the kit, you should install all of your lower sections first. Waterproofing the lower 4 to 5 feet is much more important than the uppermost sections. Continue to follow the same procedures and techniques on all of the remaining sections in this shower installation. On walls with an adjoining curb, you will need to trim out a section on the wall piece to accommodate the curb. You may have noticed that this particular wall in this installation includes a preformed, fully waterproofed wide combo niche from the Noble Company. You will thinset and notch the wall and the front face of the niche and apply the entire section of WP waterproofing membrane over the wall and the niche. After the application of the wall membrane is complete, you can use one of 2 methods for cutting the niche out from underneath the membrane. For this niche, we're going to use angled cuts to provide membrane flaps that will later be affixed to the inside of the niche. Each flap will then be thinset into place using the same techniques you've learned so far. The last section of this wall is now measured, membrane cut, thinset applied and notched, and the correct size membrane piece installed just like every section before. We now start installation on the other short wall. Notice that we have a different niche in this wall. This is the Innovis Recessit 6x13 fully waterproof niche. Just like the other niche installation, we will apply a notch thinset right over the lip of the niche in the wall. The full sheet of membrane will temporarily cover the niche. This wall also contains our shower mixing valve. It's best to cut it out after placing the membrane sheet into place. When cutting out this niche, we'll simply trim the membrane along each inside edge of the niche and ensure that the membrane is properly pressed into the flange of the niche. This wall also contains our shower head. Be sure to thinset and notch all around the pipe protrusion. You'll want to unscrew this pipe before applying the sheet of membrane. After the membrane sheet has been installed, carefully cut out the area for the pipe protrusion. It does not need to be perfect, just enough for the pipe to be threaded into place. As you have seen during the entire installation, occasionally peel back suspect membrane to ensure 100% coverage and apply more thinset as needed. Thread in and fully tighten the pipe protrusion for your shower head. For this installation, we'll be installing our Pro Advanced Universal Pipe Seal that you may need to order as an addition to your shower kit. You will apply a notch thinset to one side of the seal. Work the stretchable seal over the pipe until the integrated membrane is pressed onto the wall. Use your flat side of your trowel to achieve 100% thinset coverage on the back wall and to squeeze out excess thinset. Your particular custom installation may have multiple pipe protrusions, and you should duplicate this procedure for each one. Be sure to clean the flange to include any accidental splashing of thinset onto the rib section. It is preferred to install the floor membrane section or sections last because they're the most critical to not disturb after installation. You will apply a notch thinset just as you have with every other membrane section. You may have noticed that the Pro Advanced drain flange has a smaller diameter than many other brands, and we are using a pan that could accommodate a wider flange. You will need to fill or screed this gap around the flange with thinset so that you don't create a dip or low spot directly around the flange. Fill the gap and carefully notch over it to provide a seamless transition from the flange to the rest of the sloped pan area. Before installing the floor membrane, thoroughly clean the drain flange one last time. Fit the floor membrane into place and install in the same manner as the other WP membrane sections. Trim out the membrane covering the drain flange top cavity. Be sure to clean up any excess thinset using the same techniques used throughout the entire installation. Measure and cut membrane pieces that will wrap around the curb sections. Apply a notch thinset onto the curb and set your membrane into place. After adding the 2-inch overlap section between the membrane pieces, apply your final curb membrane. The final step for your membrane will be the outside corner pieces. Start by applying and notching thinset in the outside corner area. Press your outside corner into place and finish by completing the standard membrane installation procedures. Install the other outside corner exactly like the first. The membrane portion of this installation is now complete. Load a standard caulking gun with the kit's Noble Sealant 150. Pull back the membrane at the drain flange enough to allow the tip of the Noble Sealant to deliver a continuous bead of sealant around the entire ribbed flange area. There's plenty of sealant for the job, so use enough to complete 100% coverage of the membrane over the entire ribbed flange area. Use a flat edge of your trowel to push membrane into the ribbed flange and to squeeze out any excess Noble Sealant out toward the center. Any excess Noble Sealant 150 that is squeezed out toward the center can be scraped clear. Look for the blue color through the opaque membrane. If it appears that you are short the desired 100% coverage, apply more Noble Sealant 150 and repeat the entire procedure. To set the grate riser, rotate the riser into the threaded throat of the drain flange. Use a piece of tile that you'll be installing to help gauge how low to set the riser. Remember to consider that your tile height will vary depending on the trowel notch that you'll need to set your particular tile. It's also important to set the actual position of your grate at this time. We will soon set it permanently. Pour the plastic beads included with your kit into the remaining cavity of the drain flange. Keep working in additional beads until you achieve a firm level even with the remainder of the pan. Add more beads as necessary to ensure that you fully filled and packed the cavity. Add lacquer thinner to your included plastic bottle to no more than 1/3 full. Please note that some products labeled paint thinner will not work. While working around the perimeter of the grate riser, squeeze the fluid over the beads, attempting to cover as much of the surface as possible. Do not use more than 1/3 of the bottle. Your kit's grate riser may have a blue protective coating like this one. Please completely remove before tile installation. To complete this procedure, press the beads flat with the flat edge of a trowel. They should be spongy and compact slightly. After a couple of minutes, you can test the riser to ensure that it's now frozen into place. These beads around the grate area provide better weep drain action and more stability than a thinset type installation. Congratulations, your watertight installation is now ready to tile.